Holy shit.
Check out the new Amazon little trucks. Bro, how's that? Pedal with the battery?
Yeah.
So you don't need a license? Whoa, check this out. Here now is no license. Assisted vehicle, tell me what you think. Here in New York City. Check out.
And that's the basis of arrest? Good morning, Mr. McLean. Sir, you're charged with interference with the duties of a public servant. You're facing up to 6 months in jail and or a $2,000 fine. We're going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to you.
Yes, sir. An officer initiated a traffic stop in Harris County, Texas, after observing the defendant exceed a speed limit of 45 miles per hour and make unsafe lane changes. The defendant did not have his driver's license, but told the officer his name and date of birth. While the officer was running the defendant's name, he observed the defendant exit his vehicle, and the officer told the defendant to get back inside the vehicle. And the defendant responded, "Do I have to?" The officer exited the vehicle and attempted to detain the defendant. The defendant tensed up and locked his arms.
Everything is conclusory. What has he done wrong? What?
It was the initial lane changes, unsafe lane changes, and the exceeding the speed limit that prompted the stop. And then at that point, he was just
Stop. How exceeding speed limit? How fast was he going? I mean,
I spoke to the officer this morning, who told me that he was pacing the defendant at 54 miles per hour.
okay. In a what?
I'm sorry?
In a what? I mean, if it's on 610, he's fine, right? And then he's interference duties. What is he interfering with? What did he do wrong?
I think it was after the stop was initiated, the officer was running the plates. The defendant stepped out of his vehicle. The officer told him to get back in the vehicle. The defendant said, "Do I have to?" The officer told me that.
And that's the basis of arrest?
see how it was.
Speak,
Your Honor.
please.
Don't. Are you losing?
No, sir.
Okay.
And Your Honor, furthermore, as he was attempting to detain him, he locked his arms and tensed up. So as he was attempting to detain him, following that incident of him telling him to get back in the vehicle. And it was
That's
that,
the basis for arrest.
it was just a temporary
Walking while
detention. He was just attempting to detain him while he was trying to
What's he
investigate.
doing wrong?
Had
What's he doing wrong?
65.
No, I don't think so. Mm-mm. I find no probable cause. No, it's just, he gets out of the car and then it just the virtue of fact him getting out in the car, it's interfering with the duties. Really? No. Just when you get into, just be careful out there, man.
Yes, sir.
Life is hard as it is.
Yes, sir.
When you get into, gotta be careful, man.
Yes, sir.
People always have to get you. Be nice. It's not hard.
I was
Things will
being
go well for you.
Too.
Look, I got it. I'm with you. Okay. Just hang tight with me for a second. Okay. All right. And that's the basis of arrest?
Are you guys watching this? We have a private takeover of the federal government that is being labeled reform. It is clearly in violation of a number of federal laws, at the very least of which is records retention, that a lot of websites that are being unilaterally taken down, public data sets at the CDC that were unavailable for, like a CDC employee had to go out of bounds and upload those to a drive online just so there would be access to them. We have people who haven't gone through security clearances who are using Gmail addresses to join top-level OPM meetings. This is an effing circus. And I guess, sorry, that's all the time that the guest has. That's all the time we have this morning for Trump Morning News. As always, we remind you, your state legislators, you can't do anything directly about this, and there's nothing the Republican Party could have done in the last 20 years. Oh, and by the way, Musk did a salute on stage. Mr. President, I yield the well. Are you guys watching this? We have a private...
To Black history that we no longer teach. If you happen to be in Indiana, you're in the Hoosier state. Where'd you get that name? A Black evangelist named Harry Hoosier in the Second Great Awakening. His converts went there. How many people who live in Indiana know that they're named after a Black evangelist? Probably very few. How many know that the guy who brought an end to the American War for Independence, according to Lafayette, is a Black double spy named James Armistead, who brought the war to an end? Without that, it might have gone much longer. That's a piece of currency from 1880. It is signed right down here at the bottom by Blanche Kelso Bruce. And Blanche Kelso Bruce is the first black man to serve a full term in the U.S. Senate. He's the first black man to be nominated for Vice President of the United States back in 1880. We don't hear that today.
That's amazing.
To black history that we no longer teach. If you happen to be in Indiana,
we hear women come up and talk about how successful they are and how intimidated men are, and they never say a word about their character. And I just can't help but think about how turned off women get when men lead with money and lead with accomplishment and end up having nothing but unavailability and coldness and lack of emotional development, because that, unfortunately, is what it takes to succeed in certain career fields. You can look it up. And for some reason, women think that the success that they've amassed has somehow happened without them becoming devoid of a lot of the personality and relationships that men are devoid of. And they flex their accomplishments and money the same way men do, and somehow we make it different every time. Every time. No disrespect to you, but you didn't say about being a good woman. Nothing.
Why
You didn't say no.
I'm just
Fuck
gonna-
all that, bro. Didn't say nothing
I
about.
can tell you. Let him finish. Let him finish. Let him
This is
finish.
about a larger point. This is not about her as an individual. We don't hear, I'm successful, I got my degree, and I've been in therapy the last 3 years working out my issues. I just bought a house, and I also identified my childhood trauma, and it took inventory over my baggage, and I got it out the way. Oh, also, I'm loyal. My time management is on point. I do what I say I'm going to do. I'm considerate. We never hear any of it. What I hear is when say that y'all act like, when men say that y'all have turned into alphas, what we're talking about is the worst parts of manhood. Y'all have taken it on. Now, the problem with men is that we won't admit that those are the worst parts of us too. But shorty, y'all have taken the worst parts of what it means to be successful, and y'all wear that like a badge. Look at what it's done to us. If you need an example of what it looks like to only live in your accomplishments, look at the black men around you. You in a city full of them. Look at how devoid they are. Look at what it took them to get to where they are. Look at how underdeveloped some of them are emotionally. This is what you want? Is this what we're gonna do, to let accomplishments be band-aids for that?
I got to play. You're gonna be in real trouble. You're sitting in the car. I need to park here.
No, I'm parking here. I live here.
Well, get out. You
No,
don't have a car pass.
I do, and it's not your business. I live here.
You're here a lot, and I see you. You don't live here. And even so, I need to park here.
That's not how it works.
You are a disgusting piece of crap.
Your mother.
I got to play. You're gonna be.
Anytime white people want to smooth some shit, where they go get that rich plates and put you on TV to represent the people, you know? You have you asking your questions like, Damon, now that you made this $13 million, and we're not counting, now that you've made all this money, let me ask you this. Let me just throw this out at you. You respond any way you want. Is there racism in America? You be sitting there thinking about that paycheck, talking about, no, sir. If in there is, I ain't seen none. Anytime white people want to smooth.
Hey. Hello, Bridget Police. Hey. Yeah.
What's going on?
You here? Do you know that gentleman here?
Huh?
Do you know that gentleman here? Turn around.
No, what happened?
Do you know that gentleman here?
Jeff Bezos just moved to Florida to spend more time with Dad. Isn't that sweet, Steven? Isn't that nice? No, it has nothing to do with his father. Give me a fucking break. He aggregated $160 billion in wealth. He would pay about another 8 or 10% in state taxes in Washington. But in the US, you're allowed to peace out to Texas or Florida and pay no income tax. The 25 wealthiest Americans pay between 6 and 8% tax rate.
What are the tax games they're playing?
You buy stocks, you never sell them, you borrow against them.
Okay, explain that to me like I'm a 10-year-old. So
sure, you own $100 in Amazon stock.
Yeah.
You need money. to buy something instead of selling the stock, and say it's gone up 50%, say it's doubled, you would have to realize a capital gain and pay long-term capital gains on that $50 gain. No, just borrow against it and let the stock continue to grow.
What rich people do is they'll buy a stock. So I'll spend 10K on Amazon stock, and then I go to a bank, and the bank give me a $5,000 loan against my Amazon stock tax-free.
Right.
And I just hold the Amazon stock. Now I've got $5,000 tax-free. If the Amazon stock goes to $20,000 in value, I can go to the bank and say it's gone up now, give me another $5,000, and I just spend and live off that money. Now, if the Amazon stock collapses, I'm fine, because the loan was against the stock. So they'll sell the stock at a certain point as it's collapsing to get their money back.
One of the great tax schemes in history is that stocks grow. Think of yourself as a stock. You're making $1 million a year doing a very successful podcast. Every year, the government in the UK is going to take 40% of it. If you own $1 million in stock and it goes to 2 million, you don't get taxed on it till you sell it.
Yeah, so just never sell it.
Never sell it.
And that's what Elon's doing with his companies.
Sell it.
People say he's got, $200 billion, whatever. In fact, he's borrowing tax-free against those companies.
And then when he finally needs to sell it to pay off some of those loans, he moves to Texas, despite the fact he built all his wealth in California. Jeff Bezos